In January 2025, Los Angeles experienced a disaster that would forever leave its mark on the city and its people. What began as a small spark on a seemingly normal day quickly turned into an uncontrollable inferno, tearing through neighborhoods, destroying landmarks, and displacing hundreds of thousands. This is the story of how the fire started, how it grew into a catastrophe, and how the people of Los Angeles, united in courage and determination, emerged stronger. The events began on the morning of January 4, 2025, when the infamous Santa Ana winds arrived with full force. These winds, hot and dry, have a history of intensifying wildfires in Southern California. By 9:12 a.m., a brush fire was reported in the Griffith Park area. Initial reports suggested the fire might have been caused by a fault in a high-voltage power line that sparked due to the strong gusts. At first, the fire seemed like something the local fire department could manage. Crews were dispatched quickly, and their efforts focused on containing the flames before they could spread to nearby vegetation. However, what no one expected was how rapidly the situation would escalate. Within hours, the winds, some gusting up to 70 miles per hour, carried burning embers across the dry brush. These embers ignited new fires in multiple locations, some as far as several miles from the original site. The already dry conditions caused by a prolonged drought created a perfect storm. What began as a small brush fire transformed into a monster, consuming acre after acre with terrifying speed. By noon, the skies over Los Angeles were filled with thick, black smoke. The air smelled of ash and the sun, barely visible, glowed red through the haze. In the hills of Bel Air, flames began to devour luxury homes. Entire streets, lined with multimillion-dollar properties, were turned into charred wastelands. Residents scrambled to evacuate, many with only minutes to grab their belongings. One family described fleeing their home with nothing but the clothes on their backs and a family photo album. It was like a scene from a nightmare, they later recounted. The flames were everywhere and the heat was unbearable. Meanwhile, downtown Los Angeles, usually bustling with activity, became eerily quiet as the fire threatened to encroach on the city's heart. Businesses shut down, traffic came to a standstill, and an uneasy tension filled the air. As the fire jumped freeways, it became clear that this was no ordinary wildfire. It had become a citywide disaster. Amid the chaos, firefighters became the heroes of the story. Over 5,000 men and women from fire departments across California and neighboring states were deployed to battle the flames. Their courage and determination were unmatched. Helicopters carrying thousands of gallons of water made continuous trips, dropping their loads on the most dangerous areas. On the ground, firefighters worked tirelessly, using hoses, bulldozers, and controlled burns to try and create fire breaks. Many of them went without sleep for days, knowing that lives depended on their efforts. One firefighter, Captain Diego Morales, became a symbol of hope and bravery. On the second day of the fire, he and his team were called to a neighborhood in Woodland Hills where an elderly woman and her 3 dogs were trapped inside a burning home. Despite the flames and collapsing roof, Captain Morales led a rescue operation that saved the woman and her pets. The video of him carrying one of the dogs to safety went viral, inspiring millions around the world. Evacuations began on an unprecedented scale. By the second day of the fire, over 500,000 residents were ordered to leave their homes. Highways were clogged with cars as families tried to escape to safety. Some evacuees described the surreal experience of driving through smoke-filled streets, flames visible on the horizon. Shelters were quickly set up in schools, churches, and community centers. These shelters became a lifeline for displaced residents, providing food, water, and a place to rest. Volunteers worked around the clock to ensure everyone was cared for. Stories of kindness emerged, like that of a local restaurant owner who cooked thousands of meals for evacuees or a group of college students who organized a fundraiser to buy supplies. Social media played a critical role during the crisis. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram were flooded with updates, evacuation notices, and calls for help. People used hashtags to share resources and locate missing family members. Celebrities with large followings stepped up, using their influence to raise funds and spread awareness. Dwayne Johnson and Angelina Jolie were among those who donated millions to relief efforts, encouraging others to do the same. By the time the fire was finally contained on January 10th, the damage was catastrophic. Over 200,000 acres of land had been burned, making it one of the largest fires in California's history. Entire neighborhoods were reduced to ash, with over 12,000 homes and buildings destroyed. The human toll was even more devastating. 89 lives were lost, including 14 brave firefighters who gave their lives protecting others. The economic losses were staggering, estimated at $15 billion, but the emotional scars were far greater. Some of Los Angeles's most beloved landmarks were not spared. Runyon Canyon, a favorite spot for hikers, was badly burned. Parts of the Griffith Observatory were damaged, and the Hollywood sign, though miraculously saved, stood as a silent witness to the destruction around it. Wildlife also suffered immensely. The fire destroyed countless habitats, leaving animals displaced and vulnerable. Rescue teams worked tirelessly to save injured animals, with many finding temporary refuge in shelters and sanctuaries. In the aftermath of the fire, the focus shifted to recovery and rebuilding. The government declared a state of emergency, unlocking federal disaster funds to assist with the massive rebuilding efforts. Insurance companies processed thousands of claims, while community organizations stepped in to support those who had lost everything. Volunteers organized cleanup drives, removing debris and helping families salvage whatever they could from the ruins of their homes. There were also efforts to address the long-term impact of the disaster. Officials pledged to make significant changes to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Plans were made to upgrade the city's aging power grid to prevent future electrical fires. Building codes were updated to require fire-resistant materials in construction, and public education campaigns were launched to teach residents about fire safety and preparedness. Despite the overwhelming loss, the spirit of Los Angeles shone through. People came together like never before, proving that even in the face of immense tragedy, hope and resilience can prevail. Children in schools across the city created artwork and wrote messages of hope, which were displayed in shelters and public spaces. These simple acts of kindness reminded everyone that while buildings can be rebuilt, it is the people and their shared humanity that truly define